So you're trying to decide between the Bose QuietComfort Ultra and the Sennheiser Momentum 4. Hey there, my name is Norb, and today I'll be comparing the two. And if you have any questions after watching all of this, hit me up in the comments or watch my deep dives, which I will link to at the end. First point of comparison, of course, is the cost. The Momentum 4 is $379 in the US, although I've seen it as low as $250 at times, while the Bose QuietComfort Ultra retails for $429, with it dipping down as low as $329 every so often, although this is rare. So the Bose is usually more expensive. By the way, I've added product links in the description which you can use to compare prices. Using those links also helps the channel out at no cost to you. So both come with a nice case and both come with charging and audio cables. The QuietComfort Ultra comes with a very compact case that makes it perfect for travel, and it has a pouch inside for cables. It also has a small loop for the carabiner. It's a leather-like material which got a little bit stained in my bag. I don't know if you can see that or not, but then again, this thing has traveled a lot with me, so it's still in pretty good shape. The case on the Momentum 4 is much bulkier, although it comes with a loop for the carabiner too, so you can clip it to the outside of your bag instead of storing it inside. The case has a far more interesting feature though. It puts headphones into low power mode when you put the headphones inside. The problem is that if you turn off the headphones by long pressing the power button, putting them in the case will actually turn them back on sometimes and reconnect them to your phone. As a workaround, I added some Velcro to lower this middle piece, and I packed the headphones ear pads up, which avoids the magnet that turns them back on. Realistically, if anything impacts your buying decision here, it's going to be whether you want a travel-friendly case or one with a bunch of extra features. As someone who travels often, I think Bose gets it absolutely right. Moving on to battery life. This one is no contest. The QuietComfort Ultra offers up to 24 hours of music with a 3-hour charge, while the Momentum 4 offers up to 60 hours with a 2-hour charge. They both also have quick charge. 2.5 hours of music with a 15-minute charge with the QuietComfort Ultra versus 4 hours of music with just 5 minutes with a Sennheiser. Let's take a look at the user interface and design because these two offer very different choices. They both have a mix of buttons and touch controls, with the Momentum 4 relying much more heavily on the touch controls themselves. The Momentum 4 has one button for turning them on and connecting them to Bluetooth, with everything else being controlled with the touch controls on the right ear cup. They also have on-ear detection, although sometimes it didn't like my glasses and would randomly stop when I shifted them around. Finally, it has both a USB-C port for charging and audio and a 2.5mm audio jack. Build-wise, the Momentum 4 is made out of mostly plastic, with replaceable protein leather for the ear cups, fabric on top of the headband, and silicone underneath. The QuietComfort Ultra has two buttons, one for power, pairing, and connection identification, and the other for play controls, answering calls, and switching between noise-canceling modes. There's also a touch bar on the side for volume control and quick actions, which you set up using the app. The Ultra also has a wear detector that will stop and start music when you take them on and off. It worked about as well as the Momentum 4's version, although Bose also lets you set it to automatically answer calls when you put them on. Build-wise, the Ultra is plastic with aluminum and protein leather for the ear pads, which are replaceable, and under the headband. The fact that they fold is also a big bonus for me because it makes them a lot more compact when traveling. Now, the Momentum 4 feels more sturdy than the QuietComfort Ultra, but I'm not really sure that's the case. I think Bose just use super light materials and this comes off as more delicate. In fact, if we're looking at issues, early in its run, the Momentum 4 seemed to have a lot more quality control stuff come up. My first pair had a power button break within the day. This is actually my second pair. On the other hand, I haven't heard as many issues with the QuietComfort Ultra with either the software or the hardware. All in all, when it comes to build and design, I feel that the QuietComfort Ultra provides a better overall experience, both in the way that it looks and the controls. Moving on to comfort. The Momentum 4 is fairly comfortable with soft ear pads and a relaxed clamping force that works really well with glasses. The angled speakers inside are a little bit shallow though, so your ears might touch the ear pads. It's also on the heavier side, it's 316 grams or just over 11 ounces, but my biggest complaint is really the ear heat. It gets uncomfortable in warm or humid conditions. The QuietComfort Ultra, on the other hand, is lighter, coming in at 253 grams or 8.9 ounces with a lighter but more secure clamping force. It doesn't trap much heat, which is fantastic and it's a huge plus for me. The ear cups are also roomy and my ears don't really touch the inside cloth because the speakers are angled and there's a lot of room inside. Overall, the QuietComfort Ultra is much more comfortable, especially because it stays cooler and has deeper ear cups. Noise cancelling and ambient sound modes are areas where these take very different approaches to things. Both the Momentum 4 and the QuietComfort Ultra use a slider to let you adjust the level of noise canceling or environmental control pass-through. The Momentum 4 lets you do this also with touch controls using a pinch maneuver, but the QuietComfort Ultra requires that you set this up in the app and then add it to your modes list. The downside with both of these is that there is no clear way to turn both the noise canceling and transparency off. They both have adaptive noise canceling, but the Momentum 4 lets you turn this off, whereas the QuietComfort Ultra does not. This all said, the noise canceling on the QuietComfort Ultra is much better than the Momentum 4, both during flights and in other real-world scenarios. For example, if someone is watching TV and I need some quiet, the QuietComfort Ultra is what I reach for. That said, the aware mode or transparency on both was just about on par, with both being excellent. Before we go into sound, if you're using these for calls, take a listen. This is the sound of the microphone on the Bose QuietComfort Ultra. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
This is a microphone test of the Sennheiser Momentum 4. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Overall, they both did well, but I prefer taking calls on the Bose because the controls seem simpler and work more reliably, but both are about the same, so I'm giving this a tie. Alright, so it's time to compare sound, which I'll divide into two major areas, music and movies. A few technical notes. When it comes to codecs, the Momentum 4 uses SBC, AAC, aptX, aptX HD, and adaptive, meaning it'll work well with current iPhones and Android phones. It also features Bluetooth 5.2, which means connections are fast. The QuietComfort Ultra, on the other hand, use SBC, AAC, and aptX adaptive, as well as Snapdragon sound, which lets them handle lossless music over Wi-Fi and the new aptX lossless format. Not very many devices use this yet, but this means that these headphones will be able to handle some of the best wireless sound out there for some time to come, at least if you're using an Android or Windows device. It also features Bluetooth 5.3. Additionally, both of these can multi-connect and pair with up to 8 devices, and this is easy to manage on both using their apps. Automatically switching between devices was pretty reliable on both as well. Bluetooth aside, both of these can be connected to a device with the 3.5mm to 2.5mm audio cables. The QuietComfort Ultra requires that it be powered on, however, while the Momentum 4 will let you use it either on or off. Although I'm not really a fan of the way that this changes the frequency response. Plus, I hear a lot of electrical buzz when I do this. With the Momentum 4, you can use the USB-C cable to connect it to your computer and get the best sound quality possible. Plus, it keeps the headphones charged. The QuietComfort Ultra uses Snapdragon sound and aptX lossless, which may offset this by giving you the same type of quality sound wirelessly if you have the right kind of device. I haven't gotten a chance to test that out myself. Finally, both include some level of sound personalization options using their apps. Sennheiser gives you a ton of options with the Momentum 4. A 5-band EQ and additional bass boost, a podcast mode, included EQ presets, programmable EQ settings that you can save, and an adjustable sound personalization that's done through an audio test. On top of that, it also has programmable sound zones that will apply both EQ and noise canceling settings wherever you're entering or leaving a specific geographic location, like your gym or your job or your home. The QuietComfort Ultra, on the other hand, has a 3-band EQ and 4 presets. For most people, simpler will be better, but if you really like to tweak your sound, then Sennheiser's got you covered. Even if you don't, the sound personalization audio testing on the Sennheiser app is super easy, and it's what I recommend for most people. For the rest of this, I'll compare the two headphones with their basic settings, although I'll call out exceptions where necessary. First, both have fairly exciting sound that most people will find pleasing and fun. Both are clear, and from a frequency response perspective, they're not terribly different, but that's where the similarities end. Starting with the Momentum 4, I like to describe it having a well-refined mass-market consumer sound. It's resonant, it's crisp, it has a lot of low-level detail that still delivers a very comfortable, mature sound. If you love your deep, rumbling bass, paired with a clean and detailed sound, then by golly, you'll like this. And while that bass might feel overpowering for some, it's never muddy, mostly because it's focused on the sub-bass rather than the upper bass, so there's still some decent clarity in the mids. At the highs, you still get some pretty good presence and brilliance. It's never shrill, for example. Because of the tuning and its sensitivity, I find the timbre to be excellent. I'm a huge fan of both lo-fi and classical, and both of these do extremely well with the Momentum 4. The soundstage is decent with a solid instrument separation, but there's no spatial mode. There's nothing that makes it like 3D type sound. It's just left-right separation, which is good and clear, and while the sound is never open, it also doesn't necessarily feel too cramped. My complaints about the Momentum 4 come down to exhaustion during long listening sessions and volume, though These are both very, very minor. First off, the overwhelming amount of bass and the sub bass. It's fun at first, but I personally got tired of it kind of quickly. As for the volume, I'm usually using them at the lowest possible volume settings because the headphones don't really go all that quiet. On the other hand, pushing them to the max volume doesn't always feel all that loud. Moving on to the QuietComfort Ultra, there's a couple of stories here. The first is the big new feature that Bose introduced with the QC Ultras, and that was immersive sound. Basically, the QC Ultras do some software magic to make things sound more open and more like they're coming from a specific location outside of the headphones. You can turn this off if you want to, and I actually usually do. It's great for movies and games. But for music, I kept it off because it made the sound less warm and way more thin and artificial. Yes, it's more open, but it's also more grating. The novelty wore off, at least with music. With immersive audio off, this might be the perfect consumer tuning for music, although it is not a tuning that I am personally in love with. It's just way too bass heavy. It's never muddy, just overt, at least for me. I think most people will like it though, and if you don't, using the EQ to tone that down a little bit is super easy. Detail, resolution, and resonance were what I'd come to expect out of Bose. Decent, but not spectacular. Not as good as the Momentum 4. Same goes with spaciousness and directionality. Even with the immersive audio on, I found the sound to feel more on the intimate side. Again, I think the Momentum 4 is a bit better in this regard. The other thing is timbre. The timbre is good on both the Momentum 4 and the QuietComfort Ultra. They both sound pretty natural when it comes to voices and acoustic instruments, but the Momentum 4 just has a greater overall resolution and response when it comes to this. They're both good, but the Momentum 4 is just better. So for music, at least for me, the answer is pretty clear. The Momentum 4 is more enjoyable and has a more mature sound. Don't get me wrong though, I like the way the QuietComfort Ultra sounds, and I think most people will too, especially with a little help from the EQ. Now, for movies, the story's a little bit different. The Momentum 4 isn't bad, but it's definitely more focused on music. The bass is a benefit in exciting scenes, and the clarity and timbre will make scenes sound more natural. But the QuietComfort Ultra has the advantage of the immersive sound, which does really shine here. In fact, if your primary use case is movies and shows, the QuietComfort Ultra should be near the top of your list. Now, if you've watched this all the way through and you're wondering who should buy what, for most people, especially who travel a lot, the QuietComfort Ultra is probably the best choice. With this, Bose might have made the perfect consumer headphone. But if your primary focus is sound, especially for music, or if you're looking for the best battery life, or if you just want the best bang for the buck, then I can't think of a better headphone than the Momentum 4, especially if you can find it on sale. So there you have it. If you want to find out more, click here or here if you want to watch my full deep dives into either of these, or click on this playlist right here to see more comparisons.